I think she hates him.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay, so we can all
That's a
agree on
given.
that. That's a given. I also think that she wants to take him out. She does not want to be the first lady anymore.
They agree with you.
She doesn't want to be the first lady. She destroyed the Rose Garden. Who hates Christmas? Melania Trump hates Christmas. She doesn't want to decorate for Christmas. She doesn't want anything to do with him. She doesn't want to sleep in the same room with him. She can't tolerate him.
If you average out the View hosts, among the dumbest people on television. And it's like they say the thing that people are thinking, but they say it very directly, so they expose whatever truth.
But Whoopi is certainly not the brightest person. And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say.
The morning the scandal broke felt like any other. I was having my usual coffee and scrolling through the news when something grabbed my attention. The name Sunny Hostin flashed on the screen, but this wasn't about her usual fiery commentary on The View. No, this time it was something much more serious. Her husband, Dr. Emmanuel Manny Hostin, was making headlines, and trust me, the story was far from flattering. Dr. Hostin, an orthopedic surgeon, and his clinic, Host Orthopedics, and sports medicine had found themselves at the center of a massive controversy. The accusations, insurance fraud, illegal kickbacks, and on top of all that, being tied to a massive RICO, racketeer-influenced and corrupt organizations, lawsuit involving 180 defendants. This isn't just another average case. It's something that could shake up the entire medical world. Before we get into the details, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss any updates on this developing story. Now, let's break it all down, including the legal terms. The RICO Act was designed to take down organized crime like mobsters and gangsters. But here's the twist.
Critics are going hard after a liberal media member for vile comments about Melania Trump. The former First Lady appears to signal her support for reproductive rights in a video out yesterday.
Individual freedom is a fundamental principle that I safeguard. Without a doubt, there is no room for compromise when it comes to this essential right that all women possess from birth: individual freedom. What does my body, my choice really mean?
And this take is pretty shocking.
I think she hates him.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay, so we can all
That's a
agree on
given.
that. That's a given. I also think that she wants to take him out.
That's unfortunate.
Wow. I mean, that is violent. They've got to stop talking like
Yeah.
that about a former president who's had 2 assassination attempts. I mean, that's just...
It's not criminals involved in this case. It's doctors, surgeons, and medical practices. It feels a bit like an episode of Grey's Anatomy, but instead of surgeries and life-saving procedures, it's all about fraud. The lawsuit claims that Dr. Hostin and others...
Because I do want to get back to this point with the left and Melania Trump. Why can't she just be her own woman and have separate...
And she can.
And so why all that criticism? I mean, that was gross from The View. And look, The View is not the litmus test of America. We don't think that.
They were afraid of that remark. That was their problem.
So why did they handle it that way?
were involved in a scheme to exploit the healthcare system. They allegedly received kickbacks for performing unnecessary surgeries and billed insurance companies for procedures that may not have even been done. Imagine this: patients going through surgery, insurance companies paying the bills, and money changing hands like it's all part of a game. It's a wild situation, and it raises a lot of questions, but it gets even more complicated. The lawsuit specifically accuses Dr. Hostin of taking financial incentives for recommending or performing arthroscopic surgeries. These are minimally invasive procedures often done on joints like knees and shoulders, which sound harmless. But according to the lawsuit, many of these surgeries were completely unnecessary. Were these patients genuinely in need of surgery, or were they just pawns in a financial scheme?
One of the things I wanted to talk to you about, I wanted to play this, but we decided we shouldn't play it. We don't want anybody to have any sort of a way to get it down. The episode of you when you're on The View, when you were running for president.
Right.
Donald Trump is a billionaire, a real estate mogul, and a television star. But does he really want to add President of the United States to his resume? A lot of people would like him to.
You got introduced as our friend Donald Trump.
Please let's find out, and please welcome my friend, Donald Trump.
That's right.
Whoopi Goldberg gives you a big hug and a kiss. Joy Behar gives you a big hug. Barbara Walters gives you a big hug. They all loved you.
How you doing? We're so happy to have you. Whenever you're on with us, we're very happy.
We love it. They're talking about you in such a favorable light. The audience was cheering, and then you actually started winning in the polls, and then the machine started working towards you.
Joe Biden knows how to do this. Trump. Yeah. He tends to just...
That's a hard question to answer, but if it's true, it would be a huge betrayal. On the flip side, you have the American Transit Insurance Company, or ADIC, which is the plaintiff in this case. They're claiming they've been swindled out of millions.
It is the show that people love to hate.
Yes, that's true.
They get so much hate watching viral clips of them saying ridiculous things. I mean, it is a rabies and
alleging that they paid for surgeries that either didn't happen or weren't needed in the first place. It's like paying for a high-end meal and getting something completely different. It's a terrible feeling, especially when you thought you were getting your money's worth. But let's not forget, insurance companies don't always have the best reputation either. They've been accused of underpaying doctors, denying claims, and finding every loophole to avoid paying. So the big question is ADIC really trying to expose a healthcare scam?
Allegedly, he was cheating while Melania was pregnant.
That's not going to come in front of the jury, though. The judge has ruled that
we're on television now. And then after Melania gave birth to the baby, he found Stormy to strip around with, right?
Yeah.
It's like... people should look at him and say, you know, what kind of an insecure jerk are you? You know what I mean? It's like, oh, my wife's pregnant. I'm not attracted to her big belly or something. And now she's paying attention to the baby and not me.
Or is this just a last-ditch effort by a company in financial trouble trying to blame someone else for its own problems? Dr. Hostin's lawyer, Daniel Thwaites, wasn't holding back in his defense. He called the lawsuit a baseless attempt by ADIC to recover their losses, labeling it a desperate move by a struggling company. Thwaites argued that the allegations were unfounded and that Dr. Hostin was being unfairly targeted. This case has sparked a lot of debate. On one hand, you have Dr. Hostin and his defense team fighting hard to clear his name. On the other, ADIC is claiming they've lost millions and are out to expose the fraud. It's a complex case, and while we don't know all the facts yet, there's clearly more to this story than what we see on the surface. The scandal has also brought attention to the broader issue of fraud in the healthcare system. Most doctors work hard to provide the best care for their patients, but there's always the risk that some will exploit the system for their own gain. When those bad apples take advantage of the system, it makes people question the integrity of the healthcare industry as a whole. The media attention surrounding this case has been overwhelming, and the public's reaction has been divided. Some people are quick to judge Dr. Hostin, assuming the allegations are true. Others are more skeptical and think this could be an attack by a company trying to cover its own financial issues. As for Sunny Hostin, she's remained unusually quiet about the whole situation. She's known for speaking out, especially when things get controversial on The View. But in this case, she's been silent. You can imagine how stressful this must be for her, with the media hounding her family constantly. At the core of this case is the issue of trust. People trust their doctors to have their best interests at heart. When that trust is broken, it's a hard pill to swallow. If Dr. Hostin and others are guilty of these accusations, it would have far-reaching consequences, not just for him, but for the entire medical profession. As the case moves forward, we'll be watching closely to see how it plays out. Will ADIC prove its claims? Will Dr. Hostin and his team manage to clear his name? And what about the patients who may have been caught up in this mess? Will they get justice? In the courtroom, things were heating up as Dr. Hostin's defense team began to shift the focus away from him and onto ADIC. They're trying to portray ADIC as the real villains in this case. It's a classic defense move. Instead of defending yourself, you turn the spotlight on someone else. It's a strategy that keeps the drama going and the courtroom buzzing. But this is just the beginning. Enter Joe Rogan, the famous podcaster and media personality. Rogan didn't hold back, calling out The View for what he saw as hypocrisy. He reminded everyone how Sunny Hostin often criticized others while probably knowing about her husband's questionable actions. Rogan didn't stop there. He called the show dumb, adding that if you average the IQ of The View's hosts, it would still be low. It was a harsh comment, but his fans loved it and they ate it up. As Dr. Hostin fights to clear his name in court, Sunny has stayed unusually quiet. Normally, she's vocal about controversial topics on The View, but when it comes to her husband's scandal, she's been silent. People are asking why. Is she supporting him? Or is she trying to distance herself from the situation? Maybe she's waiting for legal advice on what to say. Fans are speculating, with some thinking she's keeping quiet to protect her own reputation, while others believe she doesn't want to become the next target in this mess. Whatever the reason, her silence is getting attention. This case is bigger than just Dr. Hostin. He's one of 180 defendants named in the lawsuit, which also includes other doctors, medical practices, and even hospitals. If the accusations are true, this could turn into one of the biggest medical fraud cases in recent history. It would reveal a network of corruption, where people exploited loopholes in the healthcare system to make millions. It's like a heist movie, but instead of robbing banks, the criminals are stealing from insurance companies.